Hey guys, what is up? Ioki here bringing you the second tier list of Season 11. This is the first official big patch, and oh my god, does it have some exciting things in it for the support role, for all roles really, but especially support. So if you guys are looking to learn what supports to be playing on this new patch in order to climb and which champions to avoid, you are 100% in the right place. If you guys don't know who I am, if this is your first time on the channel, my name is Ioki. I am a Grandmaster Hyelo multi-season support player, and I am so excited to share with you guys these patch notes. But first, let's get a little word in from our sponsors for the video. If you want to climb in Season 11, reviewing your gameplay is going to be important. Insights.gg has a high-performance game recorder that detects kills, deaths, and assists, making capturing and reviewing game footage fast and easy. It's 100% free, so check out the tool today. Links in the description below. Alright guys, don't want to waste any of your time, so I'm not going to be going too in-depth into the Tier 5 and Tier 4 champions. I briefly just want to explain, Tier 5, these champions are absolute trash in the support position. Until Rammus receives his rework, he just really is way too binary. They've all just kind of got their own issues. They're either not the best in their class, they're too short range like Neeko, they don't bring enough to the table like Shaco, or rely too much on cheese like Gragas, Galio, Anivia, even though she is a strong champion. These champions should just relatively be, generally avoided and if you are looking to climb. But guys, we're going to be doing this tier list video a little bit differently because I'm going to be going more in depth into two very specific changes. And these changes don't apply to these champions. So if you have any specific questions about these champions, go ahead and put them down in the comments and I'd be happy to answer them. But I also went into depth into why each one is in very low tier in my previous tier list, the first one of the season. So I'm not going to go too in depth in them right here because I want to get to the good stuff. I want to be showing you guys what you should be playing on this patch. So generally just avoid these champions, guys. So going on up, Tier 3, these champions are average and should only be played if you are skilled with them or if used as counter picks. So here's where the changes start affecting. Pyke has been moved from Tier 4 to Tier 3 because, or low Tier 3 to high Tier 3 because of a very specific change to Umbral Glaive, which is the vision-oriented lethality support item. They are making it 200 gold less expensive and, adjusting the stats accordingly. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but in the support position, 200 gold is actually a ton. Support economy is extremely limited due to the fact that, you're playing support, you're not farming. So really, unless you're snowballing or you're getting gold from other sources, like you have the least amount of gold in the game, right? So 200 gold off of Umbral Glaive is very, very big. Nautilus. So let's start talking about tanks and why tanks are going to be the kings of this patch, guys. They are making Turbo Chem Tank the tank item that essentially speeds you up. It's sort of like a mixture between Righteous Glory and Sunfire Aegis. So it's got that nice immolate damage. Once you get on top of them, you're consistently burning them. It's increasing your DPS. But the active is where it really shines in the support role. If you're playing like a pick-oriented tank champion like Leona or Nautilus or Blitzcrank even, Turbo Chem Tank has been a greedy item in the past. It is now 400 gold cheaper, guys. 400 gold. It's actually massive, massive, massive. It's going to open up a lot of really nice itemization for tanks, and in turn is going to increase the power of the role. Because essentially, if you're playing a tank support, no matter what you did as that tank support, whether you're peeling or diving, you're pretty much building Locket. And Locket on paper was a good item. Its stats are good, it's in a good spot, it's fine. But think about it, if you're building Locket on Leona, what does Leona primarily do? She goes in, right? She engages, and a lot of the time you're building Locket and getting those defenses, but not actually getting usage out of the active. Because by the time you're in on the enemy team, you can't pop Locket for your team, who is probably quite a bit back. So, Locket was good. It was a good item. It's definitely the best item to build on champions like Nautilus, like Leona, like Blitzcrank, Thresh, things like that. They're going to have a lot better itemization, a lot more options now with Turbo Chem Tank. I'm really, really excited about it. Now, they did, just like with Umbral Glaive, adjust the prices. This isn't just like a straight buff to the item, but it is a buff to the item in the support position 100%. Because having more options for itemization is always, always, always a good thing. It's the reason why champions like Rakan are in tier 3 instead of tier 5. I don't actually think Rakan is that great numbers wise, but it's just the fact that he had 2 or 3 mythics to choose from that made him a lot more versatile to plug in for like first picks and draft or stuff like that. Okay, so Bard is floating somewhere around tier 3. There's not a lot of massive changes for Bard, no changes to his itemization or anything like that. I've always said that Bard is like one of those champions that if you do put the time in, you can do some really insane things, but user be warned, because he's also like one of the only champions that can completely like harm your team with a bad ultimate. Stuff like that. Teemo, I'm going to say the same thing I said on my last tier list, guys. Teemo is underrated. This champion pumps out so much damage, even from the support position. You get one item, and it's like you're two-shotting carries. It's absolutely absurd. Check out my Teemo YouTube videos if you guys don't believe me. Teemo is the most underrated support in the game, in my opinion. All right, on to an interesting one, guys. So, I am man enough to admit, and confident enough in my abilities to admit, I was wrong about Rell. And I think everyone was wrong about Rell. When she first came out, she was hovering around a 44% win rate. She was being played as basically a bad Leona. You were really like only locking in Rell because you liked Rell, because you were having fun. You weren't actually locking her to have to actually climb. I think that's changing. The mindset behind Rell, there's been a bit of a shift in philosophy, right? And they didn't buff her. Nothing has changed. She has gotten a little bit of changes to her itemization, but the thing is, I said that Rell was really, really terrible. Everyone said that Rell was really, really terrible because we were trying to play her as a primary engage. She looks like a primary engage, right? Everything about her screams, you go in first, you start the fight. But due to the fact that her W is so slow, it's such a slow trajectory. It's very easily dodged or flashed out of or reacted to or disengaged. Like if you're playing Thresh, you can just flare out of it. It's very, very easily outplayable. You can't be using Rell as a primary engage. It's just not reliable enough. Especially because even if your W does hit and you're in the middle of them, you're so slow that you pretty much just get blown up. So how Rell is actually succeeding now is she's being used as a counter engage. So you basically lock in Rell when the enemy team locks in Leona, and you still want hard CC in a front line, but you're using her more as a counter engage or like a follow-up engage. So you let your jungler, you let your top lane engage, let them blow all the enemy summoners and spells or whatever, and then you go in as Rell, right? So she's very finicky. She's very kind of awkward to play still, and I think people are still sort of just now, even now, like a month and a half later after release, sort of just now getting good at her. But I am willing to admit I was wrong about Rell. She is much better than I gave her credit for. I still don't think she's top tier, and I think that due to the fact that she's so outplayable, that especially once you're getting into the high levels of play, it's still a very risky champion to lock in. But yes, she is. So really, she plays a little bit closer to champions like Braum than she does Leona. But her kit has a ton of potential. I'm still really excited to see how like people develop her playstyle with it. And I'm still going to keep giving her a try because I do really like her character. That being said, let's move on to Ashe. I didn't move Ashe in tier 3. She's still relatively average. You've got a lot of poke. You pretty much just lock Imperial Mandate and go CDR boots, Lucidity boots, which did get a very nice juicy buff. And you're just an arrow bot essentially. You get your CDR or ability haste as high as possible, and you just arrow. That's your role as a support. Lux, I did move down significantly from tier 1 to tier 3, but I will get back to that. There's a very specific reason why, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with Lux. Nothing got changed about Lux or Lux's items this patch. It's just she's going to have a lot of rough matchups now because of the tank changes. So you're going to be seeing a lot more Nautiluses, you're going to be seeing a lot more Blitzcranks, a lot more Leonas, which are very tough matchups for Lux support. So for that reason alone, she's been massively moved down. Karma, I still think she's relatively average. I don't see anything special about her, even compared to the other enchanters. There is a new CDR max build going around that bumps her up a little bit. I still don't think it's anything too impressive. Xerath is going to have a lot of tough matchups because of the tank changes. MF is going. I almost moved MF down to tier 4 because she especially is going to be bullied out of lane since they're going to be more Leonas and stuff like that. And I don't think she's as useful outside of lane as Ashe is because she doesn't have a nice big game-changing arrow ultimate like Ashe does. But yeah, Annie's a little bit underrated. I still think Annie's like kind of insane, really. I think people are kind of sleeping on that champion, but she's better in the mid position. So for that reason alone, she's in tier 3. Morgana, I would say Morgana is actually high tier 3 because the strength of Morgana is always in the sense that you can use her as she's the strongest counter pick in the game. You let the enemy team lock in Pyke, you let the enemy team lock in Leona, Blitzcrank, Thresh, Nautilus, yeah, and then you lock in Morgana, and it's like the best pick in the world. But just first picking Morgana is not super impressive. Malphite, this champion's getting slept on. He's super inherently strong. You hit level 6, you one-shot half the champions in the game. It's crazy. Pantheon, I did move up 2 tiers because I've had some personal experience with Pantheon support, even after all the changes they made trying to push him out of the support role. I played him in a Twitch Rivals scrim with Tyler1, and we absolutely dominated, and it's really fun. So very, very good. I moved him up from tier 5 to tier 3. He's still got some life in him in the support role, guys. He's just a little bit more cheese-oriented now. He's kind of like, you have to get some kills in laning phase, whereas before, like, you probably were going to get kills in laning phase, but, like, now in order to stay scaling and get into the mid-game and not be useless, you have to pick up a couple kills in lane. Rakan I've already kind of touched on. I think really the strength of that champion is just the versatility. He can engage, he can disengage, he can heal, he can shield, he can kind of do it all. Sona, as you guys lovingly pointed out, I completely forgot to put Sona in my last tier list. I'm sorry about that, and I'm sorry to tell you, she's still really not that good. She is just barely making it out of tier 4, honestly. Not impressive by Enchanter standards. There's other champions that are doing the exact same thing she's doing, but better. Seraphine. And more than what she's doing. So for that reason alone, tier 3, but low tier 3 for Sona. Let's get into tier 2, guys, and I am excited about this one. This is the one I'm pumped about, guys. These champions are very good on the current patch. Senna is receiving some massive buffs, and man, are they overdue. As you guys know, if you watch the channel, I love Senna. She is one of my top 3 favorite champions. I'm just so excited for this patch. As you can probably tell, I'm very excited to do this video. Senna is receiving buffs in 3 major areas. They are increasing her attack speed ratio, and that's a little bit different from attack speed. Attack speed ratio is basically how well you scale with the attack speed stat. So they're increasing that. They're increasing the AD and AP ratio on her Q, which is going to open up all kinds of really crazy builds that I can't wait to get into. They're also making it so that Kraken Slayer is a usable item on her. I'm not sure anyone's actually going to be using Kraken Slayer, especially in the support position, but they did do that. And of course, she is also going to benefit from the 200 gold, less expensive Umbral Glaive. So currently, guys, I've been going attack speed and crit on Senna. With this Umbral Glaive change and with the changes to the ratios, I am going to be going back to a lethality build. So stay tuned on the exact build because I'm going to be trying out 3 or 4 different ones and letting you guys know which one's the best one. But super, super excited about Senna. She's getting AP buffs, she's getting AD buffs, she's getting attack speed ratio buffs. Also, they are making it so every time you pick up a ghoul, instead of getting 3 gold, you are now getting 8 gold, guys. 8 gold. They more than doubled it. So that's going to result in you getting, 300 to 400 extra gold per match in a regular match. And that's honestly, like I said, when it comes to support position, that is a pretty large amount of gold. So very, very excited. I almost put Senna in tier 1 because I do think that she is going to be a very good pick. However, the only thing keeping her out of tier 1 is the tank changes. I think tanks are going to be very, very strong on this patch still. And she's going to have a lot of tough matchups. In popular picks. Like, I don't think you're going to be wanting to lock in a Senna versus a Leona or Blitzcrank, for instance. But yeah, so that's the change I've been really excited to share with you guys. I'm super, super excited about it. And yeah, so Maokai, I believe I had him in tier 1 last patch. If I didn't, I should have. He's still very, very good. He is receiving 2 targeted nerfs to the support position. His E's are going to be doing a little less punch-in. And Imperial Mandate, which is his main item that he's abusing, is also getting nerfed. So 2 nerfs targeted and sort of lowering how absurdly good Maokai support is. but I still think he's going to be absurdly good. He's not going anywhere with just those 2 nerfs. Trust me, guys. Alistar, very, very good. I'm starting to realize kind of the value of Alistar more as I play him more, and for that reason, I moved him up from tier 3 to tier 2. Also, I think he's definitely someone who will be able to use the Turbo Kim Tank buff. Thresh, sort of the same deal, moved him up as well. Guys, I can't stress enough how good it is to have different item paths that you can plug in for different games. That honestly increases the core strength of a champion so much, being able to build different items for different scenarios. Like, if you want to play more defensively, Locket's going to be the play. If you're going purely for catches, Turbo Kim Tank's going to be the play. Just really, really good. Brand is moved down a peg for the same reason that Lux was. He's going to have a lot harder matchups now that there's going to be a million Leonas running around. Lulu, same thing. I still think she's super, super good at enabling hyper carries, and there are a ton of hyper carries in the game right now. It's Season 11, good God. So Lulu and Yuumi, still very, very strong picks if you want to go the Enchanter route. And I still think they're very good at just, sticking by one hyper carry. If you've got a fed Graves, if you've got a fed Darius, if you've got a fed Kayn, and just enabling him to 1v9 the game. Zyra, I almost put her in tier 1 because I think Zyra's damage is a little bit nutty right now, actually. Yeah, she makes really good use of the burn items, Liandry's and Demonic Embrace. It synergizes super well with her kit. She always has super easy access to damage. And I've even seen a little bit of Moonstone Zyra running around, so I might have to try that one out. I would say she is very high tier 2, possibly even low tier 1. Blitzcrank, I've been over these reasons 100 times by now. Turbo Kim Tank is going to really accelerate these champions and make them a lot more valuable picks. Nami, I always think that Nami's kind of getting slept on, to be honest. I think she's a champion that is always inherently useful. Never like an absolutely dreadfully bad pick, which a lot of these champions are in certain scenarios. I always think Nami is really, really good. I think Nami's really well designed as well. I think she's got like the perfect mixture of inherently useful, even if you're having like an off game, you can't miss your W, you can't miss your E. And then if you're having like a really good game and you're a great Nami player, you're landing like 3-4 man bubbles, turning the tide of team fights. Really great champion. I like Nami. Janna, I put her in low tier 2. I almost put her in high tier 3. I put her in high tier 2 because I think she's going to be pretty good at countering and possibly keeping champions like Leona and Alistar off of her carries. But I'm not super impressed by Janna right now. Alright, let's get to the cream of the crop, guys. This is tier 1 champions. These 3 champs are who you should be absolutely spamming if you want to climb in solo queue as support. And as you can tell, it's a nice mixture of 3 champs too. There's 3 basically different classes. We've got Leona. I've been over it. Guys, from solo queue all the way to competitive play. Alright, Leona's being played in pro play. I'm spamming her in Twitch Rivals against challenger players. She is just good. And there's no denying it. She's just very, very strong. She's one of the actually tankiest champions in the bot lane right now. Especially with this new itemization options with Turbo Kim Tank and Locket. You kind of plug whichever is better for the game. And you just go nuts, man. Leona's really, really good right now. Swain is doing absolutely absurd damage. If you're wanting a little more punch in your bot lane, she's basically AP Thresh with the amount of catches that she can make. Or he can make, sorry. Really great utility with the W. Basically you get like a ward, an extra ward. Just really, really good. Compound CC, if you got CC on your team, you can use his little yank ability. Really, really good champion. Seraphine, as broken as ever. I think people are starting to realize that this champion is broken because we're seeing her played in mid lane and ADC role as well. She has synergy with basically every champ in the game. She absolutely brainlessly steamrolls team fights, and her laning phase is not that bad. I wouldn't say her laning phase is her strong point like Leona and Swain's are, but if you can scale past 15 minutes with Seraphine, you are going to do so much. That being said, guys, that concludes my tier list for the first major patch of Season 11. I hope that you guys, I hope that this has helped you guys. And again, if you have any questions at all, you can put them down in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. And come on by my stream at twitch.tv/Ioki, I0KI. That link down in the description. I stream every single day, and we are doing some really, really exciting stuff. We've been playing a lot of tournaments, and that's kind of another thing, is that like everyone's tier list is going to be sort of like prone to their own biases and their own experiences. I've been playing in a lot of high-level tournaments. I played in the Riot Grand Prix. I'm playing against challengers and Twitch rivals. I've been playing Clash. So I've been having a lot of solo queue plus kind of like competitive experience. You know, this list is always going to be a little more solo queue favored because that's typically what people watching these are going to be playing. So I keep that in mind. But the champions that I put on here are definitely like competitive viable and work in like a 5-man team. But I'm getting a little off track, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, guys. Peace.